Hello indie game fans, Gamescom Asia 2023 is live in my home country of Singapore, so I had to go. So here's a potato cam tour of the show floor with my top 10 indie game picks later on in this video. We had the prominent placement of the often delayed Skull and Bones front and center, which is a whole thing of its own that I won't elaborate on in this video, and you'll notice that Ubisoft, Capcom and PlayStation had massive presences at the show, to the extent of holding a leg of the Capcom Pro Tour Street Fighter 6 tournament here. Spider-Man 2 was at the show, as was a booth showing off VR, and the entire slate of Capcom games including Dragon's Dogma 2, Devil May Cry and Resident Evil were also present in some capacity. Arc System Works had a big booth, EA was there, Stalker 2 was there, Singaporean indie publisher Spirit Games had a big presence, I'll get to them later. A new Japanese publisher named Hyperreal, and, drumroll please, Neopets. Yes, that web browser game that I played as a kid is relaunching, but we'll see if that has any legs. Following up are bigger games in Atomic Heart and the recently released Endless Dungeon. A very green Monster Energy booth, and then it was on to some local board games and finally the Indie Zone, where you'll find most of the indie games that I'm talking about in this video. So let's begin with Dome-King Cabbage, a game with a very weird aesthetic that matches its unique genre mixture, being a visual novel in a monster collecting RPG world. You play as a cloud person named Mush, making the way to a job interview to get the title of Dome King, in which the claymation art style looks amazing and comes to us from a new Japanese publisher but is from an American developer. It was nice to see South Korean representation at Gamescom Asia with a significant number of titles, with the co-op puzzle platformer A Nidu looking absolutely adorable. You play as a variety of animals, from birds to cats and rats, having to use their special abilities to work together to get to the end of the level, looking to be a light-hearted title that should be fun with friends. Now this title was one of the most impressive looking games that I saw being played, since you're facing off against a giant colossus boss in Light Odyssey, in which the almost monochrome kind of colour palette definitely made it stand out. This is a boss rush title, so think Titan Souls for example, but there's no gimmick here like a one-hit kill, but rather it's regular old combat that chips away at the enemy health bar. Dodging and timing will be critical, and where there will be ancient relics that unlock new skills for your next battle, so it's more of the traditional combat and progression, and does look like quite the challenge. If you're this deep into a video on indie games, I'm betting that you love video games, so introducing Lock On Volume 6, the latest gaming journal/physical book all about video games that comes to us from the UK publisher Lost in Cult. Having physical video game stuff around the house is awesome, but if you're sick of figurines and CDs, how about a thoughtful book with this having 400 plus pages of awesome art, interviews, postmortems and more, with a giant 70-page feature on The Legend of Zelda and essays on Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, Tales of the Kingdom and more, with gorgeous hardcover art on Final Fantasy, as well as the upcoming The Invincible 4D softcover edition. And for indies specifically, we have art and features on Cocoon, Doctonia, Alien Hominid and more, so pick up a copy via my affiliate link below. A little bit of a different one here in that while I saw the display booth for Cyber Paradise, the developers were not there on the day I visited, so I'm not sure if they missed their flight or didn't set up just yet. But the key art was interesting enough, and lo and behold, it's a pixel art roguelike platformer set in a digital realm where the memories of the departed linger. You are vanquishing monsters manifested by the fears of the deceased, helping to reassemble their fragments and to reassemble them within a warm digital sanctuary, and looks pretty interesting. I recently just talked about the latest game from this developer from Malang, Indonesia, in the Metroidvania title Fairy Afterlight, and they did also show off their next game, which is titled Mirth Island. Interestingly, rather than a combat-focused entry, it is a cozy game instead, in which you play as a depressed young duck who decides to pack his bags and go to Mirth Island, which is supposed to be one of the happiest places on the planet. There are characters to meet, get to know and help, but the gameplay portion, in addition to fetch questy type events, are more rhythm game based as you dance, sing and play musical instruments, and looks absolutely charming. I previewed Demonschool not too long ago in my top 100 upcoming indie games countdown of 2024, so go find that on the shorts page if you haven't, but in case you missed it, this is a tactics RPG with an awesome look that mixes turn-based combat with a time and event management system like Persona. You play as university students who must defeat big weirdos that exist in between the human and demon worlds, and has a combat system in which, I quote, motion equals action. No release date as of yet, but fingers crossed it's next year and it will be a good addition to the tactics genre. Alright, let's move on to some of the more commonly showcased genres on my channel, shall we? AWAKEN Astral Blade is a Metroidvania title that I've previewed in the past, having been in development for quite a while, to the extent that the design of the main character has also changed dramatically since its initial reveal. But people were pretty keen on checking out this demo and seem to be enjoying it. It's a fairly by-the-numbers one of these as far as I can tell, with an art style similar to Vigil the Longest Night, but lacking the Souls-like stamina meter, with an interesting aspect being that there are multiple endings depending on the path that you choose in the game, so it's a curiosity in that sense. Another game which I have my eye on is Everdeep Aurora, an exploration-focused platformer in which you are attempting to drill deep down into the Everdeep to search for your missing mother. You will of course see the Metroidvania similarities in this game, but I don't believe there's any combat, instead relying on puzzles, key items and special abilities to allow you to access new areas. I think that the pixel art looks amazing and should be a curiosity for next year as well. I just previewed this game in my previous video, so of course I was happy to see Cuisinier at the convention, a roguelite-ish action-adventure shopkeeping game in which you venture out into the dungeon to fight and gather ingredients, but then return to your restaurant to cook and serve customers, with the ultimate goal of paying off your massive debt. It is similar to games like Moonlighter and Reciteer in that respect, and if you're not a fan of roguelites, don't worry. According to someone that I spoke with at the booth, you will be able to retreat from the dungeon at any time and take the ingredients with you, and where the penalty for falling in combat is not severe and you don't even get a game over if you fail to pay the debt on time, so it's on the more accessible end of things, although perhaps there might be more quote-unquote hardcore game modes. Indie game of the show has to be this gorgeous hand-drawn Metroidvania title with a world and art style inspired by Japan and bold Path of the Teal Lotus. I spent quite a bit of time chatting with this developer and managed to complete their vertical slice and was impressed with what I played, especially with how the platforming felt. So definitely put this on your wishlist, look forward to the release next year, and try out the demo if they release one, with my picks of the best Metroidvania of each year in this video.